A major study has been conducted on what's been dubbed the world's fastest growing middle class. Well, they live right here in sub-Saharan Africa. The region's urban middle class is made up of 100 million people. So what does it actually mean to be a middle class African citizen? Well, to tell us about that, we have Nanzala Maura, who heads up the African Alliance team at market research company Ipsos. Nanzala, good morning. Happy Africa Day.
Happy Africa Day. Good morning.
Let's start with, for those who don't understand, even I myself can't quite identify with it, who or what is the middle class in Africa?
So I think this has been a controversial question for quite a while, with many numbers being thrown out in terms of the number of middle class that is growing and so on. What we decided to do in this study is actually to go in and get the detail about who the middle class are. We had to have a starting point, so we used dollar income across the region to say, let's start and see this is, and start have a starting point. But the middle class cannot be defined by dollar income. As you know, Africa is not a country, so different countries have got different expenditure. So you'll find that, for example, $4 in Angola and $4 in Nigeria and $4 in Zambia would not mean the same thing. But we started at $4 a day. What we found to be middle class are people who have disposable income. They do not spend more than 75% of their income on utilities. We went urban because we said middle class are most likely to be in the urban centers. So we went urban. We tried to look for cities that were representative of different parts of Africa. So we went Lusophone, Francophone, Anglophone, and we did also Addis Ababa, which is Amharic speaking. And then what we also found is that education, post-secondary education, actually separates out the people who are middle class. And we found that they had either employed or self-employed. Self-employment is big in the region, so either employed or self-employed or studying.
All right, well, let's hear from the horse's mouths themselves, because you spoke to different people on the continent, middle-class citizens, and asked them what they thought middle class was, who they are. Let's take a look at that.
Middle class are those who are not that rich and they are not that poor too. They are just in the middle. They are able to afford 3 square meals a day.
According to me, middle class is those that have no problem in meeting their basic needs.
There's poor people, there's rich people. So they're there in the middle.
Some have their own apartment, some even have a good rented apartment with facilities okay for them. They have water, they have electricity.
They can afford to go to the malls and shop.
You can afford to send your children to private school. You can have an holiday once a year.
Would you say you're middle class?
I'm not there, but I'm just here. I do not have, and I have.
To the glory of God, middle class. At least I'm not saying I'm poor. At the same time, I'm not saying I'm rich, but I'm okay.
I think I fit in the middle. Yeah, I'm not struggling. I'm surviving.
Is that it? Is it people who are surviving? Nanzala, is that how we would define?
So actually the middle class is not necessarily homogeneous. So what we found is that there are 3 segments of middle class. There's the accomplished, who are not surviving and unlikely to fall back into poverty. So they're more established. We found that the accomplished actually not post-secondary school education, but most of them had tertiary education. Their job, the formal employment is still a big ticket item. So you'll find that those are a higher percentage are formally employed. And they have disposable income, they don't have a lot of debt. The ones who are surviving, we actually call them the vulnerable. So you'll find that they actually earn quite a bit of money, almost the same as the accomplished, but there's a stretch on their wallet. Okay. So they are burdened. They have a lot of responsibilities. And then there's a middle group that is called the comfortable. And I'm sure you can imagine them. They're not the ones who are paying the bills. Okay. They have income, but they're not the ones responsible for the bills, and they do not support family and so on. Yes, I want to be one of those.
Nanzala, what do we do with this? I mean, why are we focusing on the middle class? What does it mean for the continent? Why have you bothered to even do this study?
I think for most people who are going into the region, especially with products and services, there's a lot of opportunity. And I think the study just says that there is an opportunity, but you need to understand what the opportunity is. When we did a bit of work within the company, even for people in the region, we actually blame the West, saying they are the ones defining us. But actually, even within the region, our imagination of who the middle class is probably a bit higher than what it really is. But these lends a big opportunity in terms of financial services, products, goods, but it's understanding them at a country level, and there's a big opportunity.
So there are game changers on the continent, and we see also, according to your findings, that you say that there's a need to push the middle class further north, that we need to see this happening and expand further north. Just give us a bit more insight into that. What will that do for the continent?
If we expand, what in terms of expanding?
Middle class.
The middle class.
Are we not seeing a lot of them up north?
There's a lot of them in the growth in the middle class. So if you look at other data, you'll find that income across the region is growing. You'll see that the middle class group is young. They are between 22 to 32. It's a huge population. There's also just a class under it, which we are calling the floating class, who will make it to the middle class. So this is a growing opportunity for brands, for products, for services, especially if they go and solve problems that are in the region, then there's a big opportunity there.
Okay, so we shouldn't be looking for the millionaires and billionaires on the continent. We should be looking for the middle class.
You can look for them, but they're a little percentage.
Thanks very much for that insight. Nanzala Maura from market research company Ipsos with us this morning.